What's up YouTube, Edgar Kai here, bringing you a custom action figure mod today. We are looking at the Kait Diaz figure from Storm Collectibles, and we're just looking to tweak this to make this figure a little better. So as we're looking at the original paint job here, we see it's pretty clean, it's a flat white color, all her armor pieces, and we kind of just want to weather it and bring it alive a bit. Now I did do a review of the original figure if you guys want to check that out. So feel free to view that so you can get a really good grasp of what she originally was like. Next, we're going to try to add magnets to the figure here so we can holster the sidearm and grab the shotgun over here and see if we can magnetize that to the back of her shoulder so it'll look like the guns are placed on her back like the game without adding pegs or permanently gluing anything down. Magnets seem to be, I guess, the best way to put these guns on the figure. So before we start customizing, let's take a look at the supplies that we need. So the first thing we're going to do before we start touching the figure is spray it with this Mr. Super Clear stuff. This stuff is really good. It's like a super matte finish. It doesn't make anything look shiny or plasticky, and it dries pretty fast, and I put it on pretty thinly pretty fast, and it works. Next, we're going to use charcoal powder to kind of weather up the figure a bit without using an airbrush or anything like that. We're just going to basically apply it right to the figure and rub it on as if it were a piece of paper and a drawing pad. We also have these little baby magnets that I got from Amazon. They were pretty cheap, less than $5, and it came with a bunch of these tiny little magnets here that are thinner than a coin, really. And so these are the magnets that we're going to use to glue onto the pieces of the figure. Alright, so let's get that Mr. Super Clear over here, and we're going to just lightly spray all around, little spritz here and there. It doesn't have to be super thick, it's just enough so there's a grit and a texture for our charcoal to grab onto. So here we are, opening the charcoal jar here, and it's basically just a vat of charcoal powder, and we're just gonna basically draw on the figure here, and you can see it builds up very slowly or fast based on how much you want to put onto the figure here. And we're basically just tracing the edges of the armor where the cracks are at, and we are kind of bringing out the definition here of the armor. Really, we want things to fade, we want things to look worn, and this is something that you can get done with an airbrush, or if you don't have that means, we can use charcoal powder and just basically rub it on. And if you put too much on, you can always take it away with water or even just an eraser. And right now we're applying the charcoal to the fur around her neck just to make it pop a bit and to give it a little bit of depth, because before the fur was exactly the same color as the white of the armor, so we kind of want to make that distinction with the charcoal powder here. So we're basically applying it to all the white areas of the figure where the fur is at, and you can see how it's going on very easily. And sometimes I put it on too heavy, so I rub it away with my hand or with, as you're going to see, a napkin here. And we basically want to just make that fade from dark to light edges of each strand of fur, because that's how it looks in the game. So far, this is what we're working with. It's very subtle. We have those soft black fades between the armor creases and in the fur, just to give it a little depth so it doesn't look as flat as it did before. And now we're looking at our gloss enamel here, which is maybe like a $2 bottle of paint from Deco Art Americana. And this stuff is great. It's really opaque, so you don't have to really put so many layers of it on. One layer should be good. And what we're going to do is just add metallic look to the gun here, because the other guns that Kait is accompanied with have a metallic shine to it. So very gently we're going to just dry brush this metallic along the edges, so it's not overkill, but it just makes the sculpt pop out a bit, because before the gun was looking a little too flat. You can see the difference there. And let's put it on nice and fast now. Rapid fire. I wish I could paint that fast. That'd be amazing. So now we're going to jump to the figure, and we're going to make all the little screws and bolts in her armor that metallic same color. And this will also be another subtle trick that'll just make contrast in the armor, so not everything's white. So those tiny little bolts are going to be silver, and after that we're going to add little tiny metallic chips to the armor as well to make it look like it's been scratched and it's been flaking and it's actually been used, and it's not just some cool looking white prototype armor. So we can see the shine a little bit when I turn it in the light here. And our next order of business is to add the magnets to the figure. And those tiny little Amazon magnets that we were looking at before kind of work perfectly for this. And because it's Gears of War, they don't really stick out that much, you know what I mean? So we're looking at this part here. If it's not even glued right now, but it's just a perfect fit, and the holster there. And maybe right in this little open area, we'll choose a side to put the magnets on for the Nasher shotgun. And boom, we are done. There you have it. So of course we sprayed over the figure again just to seal everything with the Mr. Super Clear, or else you'll have charcoal all over your hands when you pick up the figure. So everything is sealed. The charcoal is not going to rub off. It's not going to erase off because it is protected under that thin layer of the Mr. Super Clear. And here she is. Like you can see here, it's very subtle. Before, if you were to fast forward to the very beginning, you'd see that her armor was just stark white with black lines to separate the armor pieces. But now it looks more natural, it's worn. I didn't want to overdo it, so we, didn't make the figure look over the top and unbelievable here. But here are the legs. You can see that there's a distinction between the fur, there's depth, there's layers between it. And what we basically want to do is just make the figure's sculpt more pronounced and to really complement it, because before, when everything is light, everything looks flat and you can't really see the sculpt. So let's take a look at our magnet system here. We have those two baby little magnets tucked in the back between that little pipe mechanism, and obviously on the Nasher we have it to match up so it can go right back on with no problem. And it's very strong too, so that is not falling off or wiggling or anything like that. And here's our little sidearm here. And we only have one magnet there because the gun is much smaller. It's lighter, which means it could rotate around since there's only one magnet. It can spin around, but once again, the magnets are pretty strong where that's not going to go anywhere. And the magnets are small enough, and I think they blend into the armor enough that it doesn't make the figure look terrible. Plus, it's much cooler to have those magnets on there in order to have the option to put the guns on her back and on her side. So I didn't really bother putting any magnets on the Lancer because she's going to hold that. And that pretty much wraps up my little process video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a little snippet of my crazy little work desk here. But until next time, you guys take care. I'll see you later, and Delta out.